Good evening from Yummy BTV. Wishing you all well, sending loads of love as usual. Right, this one's a bit of a clarification video of some sorts because, I get information from big sources at different times, right? And when I first came out, I didn't, but it's sad to say that certain people stopped me talking about Paul Sykes because of the rumours around the so-called um, taking young boys by force and that kind of stuff. So I was getting, before I started saying, oh nah, that really, but now I've grown up, matured since I've been out, along with this YouTube thing, and I'm entitled to give a fair opinion on all sides, whether some like this one and whether some like that one, or whether some agree or whether some don't agree. I've got to tell you really what I saw. Now, as a little kid in that London jail at this time, I've got to be 2021. We know we've gone through other videos, those that have been following me a long time. And at this time, Paul Sykes was being moved around the country pretty regular. So he'd already spent time in the units already. He must have been on some trial periods on normal location. Has to have been, because he was on the wing at this time. But the only thing was, when I saw him, he was under restrictions in the restriction cell, which is near the Wandsworth 2's office, right? So if the office is there, his door's there. In the jail at that time was Bill the Bomb. It was suggested, and I clarify it, right? I clarify it, that they knew each other long before they saw each other in prison. And they only saw, as far as I know, they'd only ever been in one, possibly two prisons together at one time for short periods. So he's in the restriction cell. Bill the Bomb's on the wing, the run of the wing, as usual, doing as he pleases. And I think, unbelievably, looking back, I think Charlie Bronson, this would have been his last, I think it might have been his last appearance on normal location during this time as well. But I didn't see nothing from Charlie and Paul Sykes at this time to clarify some of the questions you're asking me. I can tell you that when Paul Sykes and Bill the Bomb met, when Paul Sykes brought his kit, like I said to you, when they met at that time, Bill the Bomb, they walked up to him, and it was obvious that they already knew each other. So they've exchanged words. It looked like mutual respect to me from both parties, right? Now during this time, right, Paul Sykes, like I said, was laying out officers and fighting regular, blah, blah. That's why he was in the restriction cell. Bill used to get his door open, like if you get the right prison officer sometimes, because Paul was having exercise, not with everybody else. It was basically how basic would be today, if you get what I mean. But obviously it wasn't around basic standard enhanced. He was getting treated differently by everyone else. Hence why he was by the office all alone, where they could keep an eye on him, right? I think his son can even clarify that he was moving all around the country and ended up down in South. Now we know at this time as well, and during that time as well, there were two geezers, two brothers called Tony Coulson and Peter Coulson. Now, when you're in them days, if you was a northerner or southerner or whatnot, all right, Jimmy White, my boy, if you're northerner or southerner, whatever, Paul Sykes' character, as we know, wasn't taken too easy by a lot of people, especially by Tony Coulson and Peter Coulson, them brothers. They're short, stocky brothers from East London, old school, around about that age group above me, around about Paul Sykes' age, or rest in peace, Paul, and Bill the Bomb's age, round about that age, or a bit older maybe. Never took to Paul Sykes. And the Coulson brothers were very serious boys. I mean, they were both proper boxers as well. I was banged up with Tony Coulson in a 4-up. So they used to make up the mittens even before them old days, even them days. They do it now, but now you're allowed to get pads and things like that. But them days they used to put the socks with the books in those early days. That's where I learned that method from. Put books in socks and do the pads like that in the cell. Because Tony used to get me to hold them for him. This little geezer, short, stocky geezer, was the real deal. Trust me. For those that know. Those that haven't, you're gonna know. Trust me, because people that have met them Coulson brothers will be able to tell you more about them. So I know that there was bad feeling between them and Paul Sykes. Whether it was before this time or not, I can't clarify. I can't clarify that. What I can clarify is that Bill the Bomb used to get Paul Sykes unlocked by prison staff. Like when everyone, like when everyone's away or whatever, and certain staff are having on their tea break, Bill the Bomb used to walk past, get an officer to walk past and say, yeah, unlock Paul for us so I can get him out and blah, blah, blah. I remember, I've got to be honest, I wasn't there when these words were muttered, right? But this man says that he heard Bill the Bomb say to Paul Sykes, how about Roy Shaw? What's the score there then? But he said it in a way, respectfully, but in a way like to say, what was the turnout there? You know what I mean? Because I don't know what it was, but I think Bill the Bomb looked at Roy Shaw as a great fighter. But I think Bill the Bomb looked at him also as a smaller man. Not like he was little like me, short or little like me, like he needed to stick up for him. But the way he said it to Paul Sykes, right, allegedly, was, you know what I mean? How are you fighting with Roy, like, blah, blah, blah. But I'm hearing they had more than one fight. Like, I think some of you have said that anyway. Now, Paul Sykes' answer to Bill the Bomb was, so Paul Sykes said to Bill the Bomb, Bill, well, what do you expect me to do? I had a fight with him. He called it on. I got the better. And then I left it. And then he wanted to fight again. So that tells me that there was more than one fight. Now, so what Paul Sykes was saying was, what do I do if a man walks up to me and swings first? I've got to fight back. And I've got to fight him. I didn't really want to fight him again and again and again and again. For how many times they fought, I don't know. But Bill the Bomb was putting it to him like, it sounds like to me, like, Roy's my mate kind of thing. Like, leave it out. That kind of stuff. But Paul's answer to him was pretty categorically clear. Like, there was nothing really that I could do about it. Because after the first fight, I knew that I could beat him. Being honest, you know what I mean? And I got people close to Roy Shaw, and I would want Roy Shaw to win. But we've got to be fair about all this. So that's what Paul Sykes was hinting about, if you get what I mean. Now, right, look at this. Paul Sykes, as far as I know, well, we know that Bill the Bomb never took steroids. We know that Paul Sykes never took steroids. But I was never aware of or heard that Paul Sykes took drugs of any kind. I don't know whether he had a puff, maybe some of you can clarify, but as far as I know, I don't think he touched Class A drugs, right? Bill the Bomb was doing what he was doing from those early days and taking anything that he wanted. So they had dealings with Ooch. So Paul had his little thing running, albeit from behind the door, where he couldn't really hustle around as much as Bill could, because Bill was out more often because he wasn't under restrictions. So Bill used to somehow get the ooch to Paul Sykes, like get the door open, pass him a little kit bag, a little white bag that you tie up with 2 bottles in it, blah de blah de blah. So Paul used to be able to get his ooch through Bill the Bomb. Now, also during this time, when Tony and Peter Coulson had that up, all right, I haven't told you yet. So Tony and Peter Coulson had an altercation with Paul Sykes, because Paul Sykes at that time probably one of the only Northerners down there in a southern jail. And Paul, as far as you lot know him or heard about him. He's not a man. Doesn't care where he is. He doesn't care who you are. He doesn't care what you speak like. He's still going to be his same self. Some of you say, yeah, but he bottled it against him and he didn't want to fight that one and he didn't want to fight that one. I always say to you, just because a man didn't want to fight that day, it don't mean that he's scared of you. It don't mean that. As far as I'm concerned, you're right, you might lose a little bit of face. You might lose a little bit of face because people are saying, well, he offered you out, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't mean that that means that you want to fight with him. For all you know, he just didn't, on that day, he just didn't, you know, he left it and couldn't be bothered, or he had other things on his mind and blah, 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 blah. This is why I always say to you that it's all right if you're going to call someone names and that they're rapists and that they're this and they're that, if you're not there. But if you're there, right, because I saw along the years, certain men get accused of what you accuse Paul Sykes of, and you're saying, well, Yami, that's not necessarily true, because it could be that they're not that bothered and didn't want to rush him, and there were a couple of people that offered him out anyway. But the men that I saw committed such certain things in prison around about that era, I see the whole yard, exercise yard, rush one man who was double the size of Paul Sykes but couldn't fight like him for something of that nature. So why, if it was that, why didn't you all rush him then? Why didn't you was all there just by saying, oh, I offered him out, what could I do if he didn't want to fight? I'd point it to him, I said, look, come round the corner and have it. Why didn't you just punch him straight in the mouth and get a reaction and make him fight? Do you know what I mean? That don't really score no points for me for that kind of stuff, because then if it was true that everything that you said, we've gone over it in another video, I'm not going to go over it much in this one, but if everything that you said was true, then there wouldn't be no need for talking and offering people out. You just rush him and want to beat him up, if you get what I mean, and go from there. Let the prison staff pick up the pieces, because the way you lot make it sound is make it sound like everybody was in on it, right? So Tony and Peter Coulson, the same ooch deal, build a bomb, obviously knew Peter and Tony Coulson. They respected him, right? So some deals gone down, but what's happened is that build a bomb has nicked a bit out of the deal, not the ooch side of stuff, but the mixed in with the tobacco and all the dealings that go into getting the ooch, someone brewing it, paying them, getting the sugar, getting blah, blah, blah. Somehow or another, Paul Sykes has paid his bit or got his bit done, but Tony Coulson and Peter Coulson were shortchanged on one bottle of ooch, right? So what Bill's done, rest in peace, my boy, is instead of giving, say, Tony and Peter their 3 litres, he's given them 2, given Paul Sykes 2. One bottle's gone missing. But the brothers are tracking down, well, hold on, Bill, where's our other bottle? Because we've paid for it, blah, blah, blah. Bill saying, you know, Paul Sykes has got his 2 and blah, blah, blah. They've gone to the door and said to Paul Sykes, listen, you got to pass one of them bottles back. Paul Sykes says, no, mate, I ain't passing no bottle of ooch back. These are mine. Bill got them for me and blah, 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 blah. There's no way that I'm giving back. I was a bit mad, that, isn't it? Going walking up to Paul Sykes and saying, listen, give the bottle back. You know, but that's how Tony and Peter Coulson was. So they were arguing at the door, and it ended up with Tony and Peter Coulson saying to Paul Sykes, when you come out in the morning, we don't care who you are, we know who you are. When you come out in the morning, we're going to have it. And Paul Sykes is saying, all right, when I come out in the morning, blah, 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 blah. So now Bill the Bombs got involved and said, no, hold on a minute. But no solution has come as that in the evening. Nothing's been sorted. So in the morning now, obviously Paul Sykes ain't allowed out on exercise with everybody else. He has to exercise on his own, right? So, but he has to have a shower at some stage. And them days, you have to go to the bathhouse for your shower, because there's no showers on the wing in Wandsworth during that time. So it's bath day. What did they do? They let Paul Sykes out to go to the bathhouse where he could mix with other prisoners. So how they did that, and he's under restrictions, is beyond me. He's reached down there. He's reached down there to the shower room, and who approaches him? Tony and Peter Coulson. So they walk up to Paul Sykes, and they say to Paul Sykes, "Yeah, what you saying?" Because that bottle of hooch that you had to, but basically they were teaming up on him and getting ready to lever him. So Paul Sykes has gone into a stance, and Build a Bomb has just appeared from nowhere, and basically ceasefire said, "Listen, when I get back to me, I'll sort it out for you," and da 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 da, which again shows me that Build a Bomb got on okay with Paul Sykes. So there wasn't one side, because Bill's a man. He'd test the water with certain things. Like he would maybe want to say when him and Paul talk, would he be able to make Paul feel a little bit more inferior than himself, with the way that, you know, some of the things they talk about, because Bill would always want the upper hand before you answer and it gets into a row kind of thing. But not so with Paul Sykes. There seemed to be something there with each other. Like they seem to genuinely, if you ask me, they seem to genuinely like each other. But I'd love some of you to clarify whether Roy Shaw and Build a Bomb got on well, because he did. It is fact that he put it to Paul Sykes. What's the score there then? In that way. I'm telling you, he put it that way. What was the score then? With that, with you and Roy, kind of thing, like to say, I'm hearing you took a right, like, liberty, but really Roy Shaw was a hardcore fighter. He's not really taking a liberty, but I think Bill was more on about the size thing, because of that, which again clarifies what some of you have said to me, that they had more than one fight, because I knew this from that story there as well. So I put it all together. But the Coulson brothers, they wanted to have it with Paul Sykes, and I'd hate to have seen that one go off. So I thought I'd just clarify that. I might be up with a bedtime story after, but sending loads of love, all right?